Greetings YouTubers, Atari Leaf here with an open tag video response to UnleadedLogic's Game Collecting, How Much is Too Much? And this is a very interesting tag video because it's something I've been thinking about, well, really for the last couple of years. If you've been following my channel for a while, it was around the end of 2010, beginning of 2011 I believe, where I started to feel a little bit overwhelmed with the size of my collection. Now up to that point I had been one of those buy anything and everything kind of collectors. So it didn't matter what system, what game, if it was a good price I picked it up. And I did this for a couple of years, maybe a little more than a couple of years. And I started to feel that it was becoming a little bit too much for me. I had so much stuff that I was buying and never playing. And it's not games or systems that I was particularly interested in playing. They were just games that were there. I just bought them. If they were a good price, if it was a Genesis game I'd never heard of, and it was like $1 or $2, I picked it up. And most of those sat on the shelf. So I really kind of took stock around the end of 2010, and I started to do my quote-unquote purge. I got rid of systems like the Dreamcast, the Intellivision, Odyssey 2, I had a few others I can't remember now, and I wanted to kind of slim it down to systems and games that meant something to me, and games that I would actually play. I probably got rid of 100 of my Atari games. A lot of the rarer stuff that's kind of worth money, but at the same time not a lot of fun. I tried to keep the fun games, the games I wanted to play. Games that had a kind of a personal history for me. That's the kind of stuff I wanted to keep. So there's nothing wrong with the systems like the Dreamcast or the Intellivision. I just really had no connection to them, so I ended up getting rid of those out of my collection. So that leads to the question, how much is too much? Well, of course, there's no real one answer for that question, is there? It's different for everybody. And sometimes when I think of a question like that, is it a question that we the collector are asking ourselves, or is it someone external? Is it another friend or a family member who's asking us how much is too much? You might have a wife, a girlfriend, because I think most of us are male that do the collecting, who might say, how much of this stuff can you possibly buy? How much of it can you possibly have? And for me, that never really was too much of an issue. My wife was pretty good with the collection. And now that I've really shrunk it down, she's even better with it, and I don't spend as much money. So the question comes into play, well, is it because of space? Is it because of money? Are there other factors that maybe limit what you collect or how much you collect? And I think for me, space is kind of an issue a little bit. The room where I have my collection is small, so I kept one shelf. I kept my favorite games from all the systems I collect for. Everything else is kind of put away. As far as money goes, yeah, that can be a factor. I mean, for me personally, in this past year, I had to spend $5,800 on my daughter's braces. So that's quite a bit of change, and you can't say, well, I'm sorry, honey, I'd rather spend that money buying Atari games. So money can become an issue, that's for sure. So for me, the question is really, do I still collect? Do I still go out and look for things? Yes, but to a much lesser degree than I used to. In fact, the other day I picked up a very yellowed special edition Tandy-Color computer. I just call it special edition because it's so yellow. And Solar Storm for the Atari 2600. A game I didn't have for the 2600, and is actually a pretty good game. So there are still things that I will pick up, but it's a lot different now than it used to be. I used to go out and if I saw something at a good price, I would buy it. I'll give you an example. A month or so ago, I picked up some Game Boy and Game Boy Color games at Value Village. They had some of the little Pokemon ones there too, for the Game Boy. And I know those are worth kind of a little bit of money, but I'm not interested in Pokemon games. I left a Pokemon Gamecube game that was only $2, probably a stupid thing to do because they are worth money, but I'm not really interested in buying things to resell them. If another collector who's more interested in Pokemon can get some joy out of it, some fun out of it, I'll leave it there for them to buy. I'm only going to buy things that I'm really interested in. I don't have the time or the energy to be buying things just to resell them. But yeah, there are still things I will pick up. I can't say for sure that my collection will ever be 100% complete. As of right now, I'd say it's probably 95% complete. There are still other little things I'd like to get. But as far as the volume of the collection that I had in the past, I don't think I'm ever going to get to that level again. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with it. There's a lot of people on YouTube who have very large, very impressive collections that basically span every generation, every console you could think of. And if they have the money and the time and the space for all that, and I mean all the power to them. I don't. Video games aren't that much of a priority to me. And I don't mean to say it that way as if it's more of a priority to other people, but I can't devote that much time and energy and frankly money to this hobby. I try to keep it low-key, a lot more low-key than I used to, because I used to go hog wild when it came to buying stuff. But yeah, how much is too much? For me, I think right now I've kind of almost reached that too much point. Not too much, but just right. It's the just right point. I basically collect from the Atari generation up to the 16-bit, your Genesis, Super Nintendo, TurboGrafx. So there's not too much in there, and I only collect specific games that I am interested in. And like I've mentioned before, I'm more of a fan of the retro arcade games, so I basically like to look for ports of those old arcade games. So that's the tag response that I have for how much is too much. Thank you, UnleadedLogic. I think this is actually a really fantastic tag, because it's something that I've been thinking about. It's something that's been discussed on some of the forums actually lately, like Atari Age and Digit Press that I frequent. It's been a subject there too. Maybe it was just Digit Press, it wasn't Atari Age. But yeah, a great question, and I was glad to be able to do this response. And thanks everybody for listening to me ramble on. Have a great day.